We're in our multi-span here, and this is where we put all our show plants. We bring them in, we take them out, we move them, just to try and get them into perfect condition to be able to take down and put onto our display garden, which is what we're really about. The trouble is, this season, this year, in 2021 has just been so cold. Although we've had the light levels, the nighttime temperatures have been really so low. The pots have not got warm, the plants are not rooting down, we're not getting as much stuff on the top of the plant material as we would normally expect. It does mean, however, that we will have some earlier season plant material to put onto the display, which we quite often miss out on because it is so early. When we're selecting plants, we need, because they're going to be in the garden for quite a long time, we need some that are in full flower, such as this beautiful iris, but with bud to come. And so we'll always take things which got lovely bud like this blue bud, because this flower will come out and as another flower afterwards. And when they're outside, they will last longer. With the alliums, for instance, we will always take some that are a little bit further out and some in bud again, and then we will tidy up the bottoms, we will tidy up the leaves, and we will always take down a few more than we require, just in case there's a damage or something doesn't work properly, and then we can move them around. Luckily, because we're on site this year, we can come back up and get things when we need to, should there be any problems. Silver foliage is always useful. These, hopefully in another week, will be in full flower and they'll have lovely zingy yellow flowers on them. But it's just making sure, good potfuls, well grown, bit of full flower, bit of bud, so that it lasts the whole time. We're here in the shade hall, which is not a tunnel, it's just a flat lot of shade netting, and it's open at the side, so all the airflow comes through. Now these epimediums will get used on the display because they're brilliant leaf, they're great for all the shady stuff, but they're too close together. So this is part of what happens when we're dealing with show plants. We have to lift and separate the plants up, so that they end up with enough breathing space to actually be able to spread out and grow in the way that we want them to be. And they will then be the correct shape. So now you can see there's a bit of space between each of these plants, just enough to, as I say, give them that breathing space, and it actually makes them look much, much bigger. And they're putting on their fabulous foliage here. We're just going to have to cut off one or two of these dead leaves, which should have been done earlier, but we've had difficulty with this season. When we start doing show plants, we're looking for a plant that is a good size, a good shape, and really what we're looking for is a good combination of enough flower, enough bud, because they've got to last and look good for a certain length of time depending on the show time. And then you need to prepare them and make sure that they look absolutely fantastic. Now what you can see here is that Julie is preparing this plant by taking out all of the dead foliage, all of the damaged leaves, and this takes quite a lot of learning to do properly, because you've got to make sure that you don't cut off any of the good pieces, because you don't want to be left with a completely bare pot with nothing there. It starts by going to the first outer dead leaves first, and then gradually working your way through into the bottom of the plant. And you gradually do bits and pieces, and then you will turn the plant around and have a look at it the other side and see what is happening and how it's all looking. Now this is an Epimedium. This is Epimedium cross versicolor Sulphureum. And these are brilliant plants for using on show gardens, because you get a good amount of flower initially, and then the leaf takes over, giving you a lovely big understory planting. So it's very, very good for covering over in the underneath bigger plants and doing your ground cover sort of plants. So you can see she's just tidying up and looking and cutting out dead and damaged leaf, and making sure that the plant will then look perfectly good for utilising and using on the garden, and just gently turning it around so that she can see other bits. And you know, you're always having to look in, but it's easier to start on the outside of the plant first and then work your way gradually into the centre. All of our show plants are grown outside. This makes them nice and hard and keeps them within season, and we like to keep our displays in a seasonal type of way. So you've got a harder plant. So these have still got a little bit of old leaf from the winter time in them. They haven't been tidied up this time for putting them on display. So it does make it a little bit more awkward trying to find all the leaf and everything else in there. Now, the other thing that we do with our show plants is we make sure that we choose the best, and that we are actually sourcing our plant materials so that you've got good stock, good thick potfuls that will fill the space. So you can see here that the pot is small and the plant is growing right over the top, so that when you put it into the display, the pot will disappear and it will look really, really good. We have to prep quite a lot of things. There are grasses that have to have quite a lot of dead leaf taken out. You might occasionally have to tip the odd thing there. And, you know, for Chelsea, the plants have got to be tip top, but we also need filler plants like this. So we tend to use Epimediums as really good filler plants.